Now see...
Forget it was a tough series. Both clubs riding each other, doing everything to get each other's goat.
A Time with Art.
Welcome to A Time with Art, and our guest today is Coach Houle, Eric Houle of Southern Utah University. And one thing interesting about him, he's probably been around as long as I have, which is great. We've known each other for many years, and Eric has been the head coach for cross country, men's and women's track and field, and coached all the different events there with
was a time.
all these kids who have gone through. So let's go back and trace a little bit of your history and how you came to Southern Utah back in the 70s.
Right.
To go to school and where you grew up and all, and let's get that background.
Well, I graduated from Dugway High School. Mm-hmm. You know, my dad was a biochemist out there, and so it's a small high school, and so there's a tendency, anybody that's from a small high school knows that you have to be involved in almost every sport. There's not enough people, and so I played baseball, played football, played basketball, and ran track and field. And then they brought in cross country in about 75. And so we also jumped on to cross country. I remember we were playing Intermountain Indian School at home. And the next day was the state championship at Sugar House Park. So it was one of the first times Sugar House Park held that state championship. And I think we lost the game. Intermountain, we lost it by a couple points, but then early morning we were in a car going to run at the cross-country championships. But then I had great success, and I got a leadership, because I was student body president there, so I got a leadership and a track scholarship to a couple schools, and my brother was here at Southern Utah. He went to Dixie College on a scholarship, then he came here because Dixie was a 2-year at that time, and so he took a scholarship here with Steve Lunt, and was ran track here, and so I just kind of followed him, but before I did that, Steve Lunt contacted me because in 1975 the 1A state championship was held on this track at Southern Utah. It was the first time I was in Cedar City, and I have a picture of it. I think it was Steve Lunt with the final gun for the lap, and I won the state championship here. And when I look back on that, you just don't understand the places you visit and the people you run into, how down the road they can potentially and will affect your life. And so I took the track scholarship from Steve here, and just totally enjoyed it. And Steve was a great coach. The professors I had were awesome. The thing I remember about the professors here is that they just actually cared. They cared about where you're at. No one is out to crush you. They were all to build you up. And so that was the beauty that I preach, as I recruit people here at Southern Utah. And one of the things I try to do as I work with athletes, and I think in that time here, I've worked with over 800 athletes. You win most of them, and sometimes you lose some, for whatever reason, but I think the vast majority I tried to hold true to what I was taught here in terms of inspiration, guidance, and confidence, and setting goals, and placing people in the right position where they can experience success. And so that's how I got here. And in the last couple years, I ran for student body president here, was fortunate enough to get it. And then we brought in some great concerts, and we brought in Air Supply.
I remember that one.
And so it was, but it was my concert coordinator that really got a hold of Air Supply and brought him in. And Peterson, I think her last name was. And then I decided for some stupid reason to run for student body president again, and got it. And so it was a great foundation for me to go to the next level. How to work hard, how to dream big, how to organize yourself, because it took a lot of work, and I wasn't the very best president, but I learned so much at that time, and I could carry what the professors taught me in the classroom and what I learned in student government, what I learned on the track, because we were also traveling too, and I could carry it into the next arena of my life.
Yeah, and then you were at Judge Memorial for, you said 10 years?
Yes, 10 years. At that time, interest rates were 18%, I think.
I remember that, yeah.
And
people were complaining about 6 or 7%. They didn't live through that.
So I was struggling. We were struggling to get a job, and we had a couple nuns that lived here, and we started the Newman Club. One of the things as student body president, I started the Newman Club, and I did it because I wanted to meet Catholic women, and so so we started it. Well, a friend of mine and I started it, and I got busy in student government and stuff, and then so the sister and the nuns, they had a connection to Judge Memorial, and so I was able to get an interview there. And they said, oh, you'd be great for the job and stuff, but we don't have a job right now. So I get a call about a month later, and they have a drama job opened up. And so I took the job. I taught drama for 2 years, and I need to apologize to any of the students that I had at that time for 2 years. But I did put on Music Man, Hello Dolly, a couple plays, cool. And again, it was almost like I taught Shakespeare and literature. And it was almost like it was meant to be, to prepare me for the next arena. And then I was able to get the job in cross country and assistant coach at track and field at Judge Memorial. And it was a glorious experience, working with these young athletes, the parents were engaged. It was really, and I think I was 20, at that time I was about 26 years old. And you know how you are when you're really, really young. You're just happy to be alive and have opportunities. And so I went from there, and I spent the next 8 years coaching track and field, helping coach track and field and cross country. And we won quite a bit there. And then the job here at Southern Utah opened up.
And Judge Memorial has been in high school echelons winning state championships in the late 60s, 70s. I remember Cedar High played them in a semifinal in '73, I think it was. And Judge won, and they played Dixie for the championship the next day, and Judge won the championship that year. So it was a great semifinal. Judge Memorial, Dixie, Cedar City. I can't remember the other team. I shouldn't be able to know that. But anyway, I remember sitting in Dr. Brown's office where it was before.
Yeah.
You remember that.
Oh, yeah.
And now it's all gone and part of the Shakespeare that they've, So, and then, you came here and started a dynasty.
Yeah, thanks.
Eric, I walk around the center, now the event center, and I see all those track and field championships, and I can't even count them. I know you probably can't. Tell us about how much of that, because you work so hard and developed athletes through their freshman all the way to their senior years, and that was part of your success too, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. And like I said earlier, here at Southern Utah, it's not just one person that accomplishes great things, good things. It's a combination of a lot of people that are in the background that you don't even get introduced to, you don't see. So, all the help I got, from where I was in high school to college to starting my first job at the high school level, and then getting here, and then the support staff around me. Any coach knows this, a business person knows this, anybody that is a professor knows that you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with. And if they're willing to catch on to the dream, and you can communicate that dream, it's not going to always work out. And I tell my athletes constantly, when you go into competition, because we're facing some of the big Power 5 teams constantly, when you go into the competition, you can't be caught up in getting beat. And you may not run or perform your best, but you got to have Teflon skin. When I tell the young athletes that now, they don't know what Teflon is. You got to have Teflon skin so things slide off and you keep that fighting spirit alive. And so, and it works 90% of the time, but you always have those down years. You can't always be at the top. And so it's just, it was an interesting thing, coaching both genders in all these 6 seasons, because sometimes you'd go in and you dominate in one gender, but then the other gender would be dead last. And so you're high and then you're low. And it's kind of like a weird balance. But you always have hope that you'll make the right decisions and things will change, and things did change and things got better. And again, you run into some new obstacles. I think the new arena now with the NCAA, it's going to be in a different arena that a coach has to manage through. But I do know as the seasons have gone, I've seen coaches throughout the country, I think the coaching field has gotten better. I think they're more accommodating. I think they're more understanding. And I think those are the things that I learned from Southern Utah that I started out early trying to do.
Yeah, and then '92 you came, and I'm thinking back. Ricky Mandini came about the same time then.
Yeah.
And that's almost crazy to think that it's been that long
I know.
since you were here and that he was here. And before that, it was Ben Davidson, who was our first trainer after the 1979 season, or 78, where one of the athletes had a problem. And so they thought, we need to get a trainer, because they had just students doing it.
That's crazy, yeah.
And it was, and back then, though, there weren't a lot of trainers at some of the smaller schools like ours.
Right.
And he kind of brought it to a new level, and then decided he was going to go into teaching and physical education. And Ricky came and started, I think, in '92 right there. And it was an interesting time for Southern Utah. And since then, they've continued to build on that.
That's
but
awesome.
before that, I don't know if you knew any of the other, I think Steve Lund coached track.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he's the one that recruited me here.
Yeah.
And then Adams.
Boyd
Adams
Adams.
was a coach, and then I graduated at that point. But one of the classes that we were told we had to take was athletic training, and it was really kind of a gift because we had to do certain things. And so when I went to Judge didn't have trainers either. So not only was I the coach, I was the trainer, and I learned some things. And then when I came to Southern Utah, Ben could not handle the volume of athletes and the incredible time that was placed on them. And so I had to take some of that load myself. And to see that evolution now of where we're at, it's crazy cool. When you predict what you think the future will be, and even though you're where you're at right now, it's hard to believe. But I'm telling you, I've experienced it. We will get better. We will adjust. We will accommodate the student athletes and the people in the community that love the sport, that love the sports, and it'll get better. I'm looking at the new softball field. I look at the new throw facility. I mean, it's getting slowly better. And I remember sitting on it was the institutional council when I was student body president. It's now the president's council. But I remember sitting in that council, and all these guys and gals were talking about where the growth of the university is going to be, how the student center is going to be, what we're going to go for. And I'm thinking, wow, I don't think I'll be alive when I see this. And bingo, here we are. And it's better than I even imagined. So it will get better, and you're right, with the trainers. We have now the athletes are taken care of. We have team doctors. It's as good as, I think, any mid-major. Do we still need to get better? Absolutely. Do we need to address the new issues that are going to arise with the NCAA and the changes there? Absolutely we do. But, I have confidence, that we'll keep each arena open for the future athletes, because it's our job to inspire the next generation. And if they don't have a platform, then what kind of society are we going to be?
And really, track and field has been one of the sports that has come right along, all the way from the 50s up to where we are now here in 2026. Mm-hmm. And who knew it would ever be 2026, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And here we are. I'm in the same boat you are about that, but I'm not doing the travel with the teams anymore.
Right.
That COVID took care of that partly, and also it's nice to have my weekends,
Exactly.
Yeah. And you'll be seeing that. So Eric's planning to retire this coming spring.
Right, after the outdoor track championships, yep.
So talk about some of the how you built this program from 1992 to winning as many championships as you did. Because like I said, I walk by and I see all these plaques, and it's amazing. And I know your brother Dave had done that too at other schools.
Right. And Scott at Utah Valley is doing the same thing. I think one of the things that I think inspired us to move into the field of coaching and also move into track and field is, I remember in Montana, that's where we were from, and sitting in a place called Lincoln, Montana, my grandmother's cabin, and she told us a story. And she was in her rocking chair. There was a fireplace. We're all gathered around to listen to the story. She was a teacher for many years. But when she said in 1920, women weren't supposed to go to college.
Yeah.
And so, but she wanted to be a teacher, and she didn't know how that was going to happen. And plus, she didn't have government loans or anything like that. So, anyways, she's kind of playing on the playground, and she's, I think, in the 8th grade, 9th grade. And she, you know how people start racing each other? So she's racing the boys on on the track team, and they tell the track coach. And the track coach think it'd be a great thing to do. Hey, Alice, why don't you come out and run a couple track meets with us?
Yeah.
And so she did, and she would beat some of the guys and race. And then there was a cheering group that would follow him to Missoula or Billings or Helena. And there were 3 guys in the stands that followed the track team around. And they were hooting and hollering. I'm sure they had a couple beers and stuff like that. And they would cheer, but she read it as, "Guy, I'm a female. This is unusual that's happening. I think they're making fun of me." So she goes to the track coach and says, "Hey, I think those guys are making fun of me. They're following me around and they're screaming and shouting." And he says, "I'll go check." She goes up there, he goes up there, talks to him, comes back down and says, "Alice, don't worry about it. They're not." And so she continues the race. She gets down to the last race, and she can't run at the region or the state. So it's the last race, and it's a big deal, Alice's last race. And she runs the race. She finishes 3rd. I still have the medal to this day of that 3rd place finish.
Cool.
The 3 guys come down to the gate where she's leaving. She says, they say, "Alice, can we talk to you?" And she says, okay. She comes up there, kind of a little nervous. And they said, "We have been following you for the last 2 years, and we have been betting on you, and we have been cheering for you."
So these were the guys.
Yeah, they were gold miners.
Yeah.
They handed her a pouch of gold nuggets that
Really?
paid for her first 2 years at Western Montana. And
In
she-
Dillon, Montana.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. And she became a teacher for 70 years because of that. And so that was an inspiration to us. And then my mom was just so service oriented. And I remember she called us into the living room one time and said, "Okay, you guys are going to go to Camp Cassopolis, and you're going to spend a month there." So, "Well, what's Camp Cassopolis?" "It's up Immigration Canyon, and it's for handicapped kids." We thought, wait a minute, you're just breaking the news to us that we're handicapped? And said, "No, you're going as counselors." So we went up there as a counselor, and it was so scary. And when we drove up, I was looking at, okay, so who are the handicapped people? Who are the normal people? I couldn't tell the difference. And by the time it was all said and done, I found that the spirit that the handicapped people had was infectious. I mean, it was just so exciting. They were so excited about getting up in the morning. They were so excited about whatever they were doing. And I was training for it was called the Deseret News Marathon. So I'd go down to Immigration Canyon early in the morning and then come back up before everything started. Well, one morning I'm going out and I'm running down Immigration Canyon and I just hear these tons of footsteps. And I look back and it's about 15 of the handicapped campers. And I'm a sophomore in high school and I'm panicking. What if something happens? So I stop them and they start telling me all their stories, how they have gold medals and they ran in the Olympic Games and they're going to train and run for the Olympic Games. I said, "Well, you're not going to train here. We're going to get you back." Got them back. And at the Deseret News Marathon, when I came across the line, they were there with signs cheering me on. And that was an inspiration. And then my mom and dad would just say, "You're not going to just sit around. You're coaching in the Special Olympics." And we started coaching the Special Olympics. And Rice Stadium, I remember there was a championship at Rice Stadium when they still had the track there. And so that was the point in which we made decisions to move into this area. And the inspiration that our parents, my grandmother, and the other things we saw, the young handicapped kids, inspired us to believe that there's something better in all of us, whether we're handicapped or we're not handicapped. But if we want to really be truthful, we all are handicapped in some way. And
That's true.
And if we can reach people, if we can first address our handicaps and then reach people through those experiences, we can have a profound effect on the people around us. Will we make everybody happy? No. I saw a quote that was from a football coach just recently that said, "If you want to be a leader, know you're going to have some enemies. If you don't want to have an enemy, sell ice cream." And so
The ice cream truck comes by.
yeah. So you're going to make more people happier than you're going to, offend some people. But you've got to try to be a leader. It doesn't mean you're perfect. It means if you're full with a spirit to make a difference, And my dad told me, starting out early, he says, you know, you need to coach your athletes like you want your sons coached. And that was another inspiration, you know. And no longer, you know, I didn't treat the athletes bad. Now you have some run-ins sometimes, but for the most part, it was a positive situation. So I think that was part of the championships we won, and a reason why we won. And it was exciting and it was fun.
That's great. I'll just remind the audience that we're talking with Eric Houle, the head coach here at Southern Utah for track and field, cross country, both men's and women's. So it ends up being 6 different sports. But anyway, and this is live on KSUU here in Cedar City and also on YouTube. So, and this will be a great one to listen to because of some of the things you've told us. So let's go now through some of the great moments you had building this program and now where we are here in 26, because you've had to switch conferences all the way back, and now, you know, and then into the Big Sky, out of the Big Sky into the WAC and all the things that happened there. Yes. That must have been a transition for you and your athletes to have to go against some of those competitors in the Texas schools.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was a joy. We won our first conference championship here in Cedar City, actually, and it was in cross country, and it was in the American West Conference.
Right.
That was our first conference we got into, and I remember so excited that we're into a conference now. And so we got beat up that first year, but the second year we started making some headway, and we did win that conference championship, which was kind of cool that we won it here in Cedar City. And then we moved out. I think we were not in a conference for 1 or 2 years, and then we got into the Mid-Con Conference. But I remember in '93, we went to Salt Lake City to race in the district championships. District championships have all the Colorado schools, BYU, Utah, you know, Montana, all the Big Sky schools. We go there and we take dead last. And I am not kidding. We are being made fun of. And I didn't care. And it was like, this is cool. Because I was just a couple years earlier, I watched Ron Mann at NAU beat BYU in Colorado to win their championship. Yeah. And now I have the opportunity to at least be in this game. And 7 years later, we beat everybody. Beat BYU, beat Colorado, won the championship. And it changed everything. And from there, we won conference championships in the Big Sky in both track, cross country, and indoor. And I remember winning our first conference championship in the Mid-Con. We go to Buffalo, New York. And I think the guys won it, and the women were second. And it just, the excitement was so crazy fun. And then it just snowballed from there. And I think one of the biggest things that I felt like was a really strong accomplishment for us. We're in track and field and cross country. There's 315 teams. They only take 31 teams to the national championship. And so you have to perform. You have to meet schools around the country that are in different regions, and you need to beat them to have a shot to get to the national championship. And then you have to place well at your regionals. And so anyways, one of the big upsets, I thought, we go to Notre Dame. And I won't go into all detail why that Notre Dame was kind of an interesting situation. But I did apply for the job, and I was flown in at Notre Dame. And they didn't give me the job, but I was a Final 3 candidate. I was thinking, God, I don't care. I'm flying over the football stadium now. At least I have made some kind of headway. And so I didn't get the job. 2 years later, we go to Notre Dame. And we're on the course there, and I run into the athletic director and the guy that, Reggie Brooks, I think it was. He was one of the candidates for the Heisman Trophy. And they just said, God, we really did want to get you here and stuff. And I said, God, you know, leads you where you need to lead. Anyways, we line up on the course. There's 30 teams. Air Force, Arkansas, Florida, Florida State, Texas, Notre Dame. There's 30 schools. And I'm just thinking, God, if we can get in the top 10, that's going to make some headway for us. It's so excited. They take off. And we win the thing. We beat everybody. We beat Notre Dame. It pops us right into the top 10 in the country. And I mean, I think I'm walking off of Notre Dame's campus, and I had an opportunity possibly to work here. I didn't get the job, but I just beat everybody. We just beat everybody. And so we go in there. We're in the top 30. We finished, I think, 15th in the country that year. And so it was a glorious experience. I just absolutely loved it. And I think, one of the other ones that I really remember is NAU is a powerhouse. If you don't know, just Google them.
Oh yeah, in cross country.
And track, they're a powerhouse. They won 3 national titles. And so in 2015, we had the cross country Big Sky championships here.
Yeah.
We beat NAU. And the next year, NAU wins the national title. But
I remember that.
Yeah, we're at the national championship too. And so anyways, in 2018, 2021, COVID,
Okay. Yeah.
the championships were postponed. But then they had the championships again. NAU's ranked #1 in the country. We go to Weber State to run the conference title with the Big Sky teams, and we beat NAU by 3 points. And it puts us in the top 10 in the country. And there was a lot of saying, oh, Southern Utah's not that good, but the coach there, Mike Smith, is awesome. He gets on these podcasts and said, no, they're that good. And we get in there and say, well, the talk was, well, they got to finish in the top 20 to prove it. And we finished 9th in the country. And so it was just like crazy cool. So there are a lot of little victories that we had with individual athletes and individual competitions at Stanford or at UW or wherever we're around. And it makes me realize that I have been blessed in my career, because it isn't just me. It's the people that you're surrounded with and the athletes that are willing to buy into the game and willing to dream big and willing to let their skin have Teflon skin so they keep that fighting spirit alive. And so if you can bring people together,
yeah.
and if you can understand that we're in this game for just a short while, and if we can make a difference with one person, we're successful. And I hope I've done more than that, but I realize there is no way on this earth I could have accomplished this without first my family, then the schools I was at, the professors I had, and the glorious wife I had. The thing with the Newman Club that I was.
So you met her here at SU?
Yeah, one of the first meetings, she's there. And we hit it off and we get married. We've been married now for 44 years, and we still are working in the Newman Club to this day. And so we're the head of the Newman Club, and she really does the work. But I realize too, and I think everybody can say this, when you've been together long enough, you truly learn about what love is. Love is commitment. Love is sacrifice. Love is not just you. It's growing and an understanding, marriage is a holy thing. And it's holy for a reason, because you give of you learn. And I think I can't speak of all guys, but I haven't been the best guy. But I'm a better husband than I was when I first started. And I didn't realize the gift I had. I mean, you're in love and you're excited, but I think as I've gotten older, I realize the love that has been given to me by my wife. And so it's been a glorious experience, and she's the one that has made this possible, because without her, I can promise I would not be where I was at, where I've been at and stuff. So that kind of support system that matches up with the professors and the teachers and the coaches and the parents and the grandparents has been fabulous. And I'm never going to ever, this is not about me. It's been a blessing that's been given to me, and I hope for the most part, I've treated it right. But that being said, no one's perfect. And if you can also have Teflon skin and let things slide off, it will keep your spirit alive. And so life is not perfect, as we all know. And so we have to go in, ready for battle and be appreciative and grateful for these opportunities we've been given.
We'll talk about the NCAA track championships when Cameron was there, and he won so many events that SU finished 11th in the country in the NCAA championships. Indoor,
outdoor, and cross.
That's so great. And he pretty much had all the points, right?
Oh yeah.
And was he the only one you took to the nationals that year?
Yeah, he was the only one. But in track and field, you don't get there just because you're on a winning team. Yeah. You don't get there if you win the conference championship.
It's got to be by the performance.
And they only take 22. So in the mile, for instance, you're going to have 500 people, but the cutoff is going to be like 4:01 in the mile. and everybody else is around 350. And so and the 5,000 is the same way. But when he races at Stanford and throws down that 26-26 or 27-26 a time, which put him #1 in the world at the time, it blew people away. He goes on to Mount Sac and throws down 13-18, beats the national champions, and posts the fastest mark in the country. Those two marks now are still in the top 10 all-time fastest marks ever performed in the NCAA. And I remember I told my athletes, crazy story, when I'm young, I said, you guys got to dream big. I dreamed of being in the Olympics. I won a couple state championships, and everybody in my school thought I was going to go to the Olympics. And you buy into that. You start thinking, is it possible? Is it possible? And so I got here at Southern Utah, and I had to race that #1 school. Not for, anyways, I can't remember. It was one of the top schools.
In the RMAC?
In the RMAC.
Western State? Or?
Western State was one of them, but it was another one. And I'll probably remember it.
Regis, maybe?
Not Regis. Anyways.
Fort Lewis?
Nope. What are the other ones? Adams State.
Adams State.
It was Adams State.
Alamosa.
A powerhouse.
Coldest place in the world.
And they could beat
winter.
and they could beat the NCAA Division I teams. They were that good. So anyways, that's the first time I line up in a meet, and there's UTEP, who's won 8 national championships, and then there's Adams State. And they take off, and I realized at that point, yeah, getting to the Olympics is going to be kind of tough for me. And I said, but I still had that fire and that excitement. And I move into college, and many years later, in 2012, I'm sitting in London Stadium as a coach of an athlete from Southern Utah.
Watching him.
Your dreams come true some form. So I never made it as an athlete, but I made it as a coach. And so it is important to inspire people to understand, no matter what your dream is, they change through the years, but it doesn't mean you have to lose that hope and that desire and that passion. And so when Cam was when we sat in that stadium, and he won those 2 national titles, and it was a big talk, on some of those talk stations for track and field. And then he qualified for the Olympic Games. It was crazy. It was crazy fun. And props to him. He's the one that did it. Yeah, maybe I was there to drive him to the meets and guide him in the workouts and stuff, but you can't get there unless you have someone that shares the same confidence and the same hope and the same desire and the willingness to work. I tell my athletes, if you want to race like a 5-minute miler, train like a 5-minute miler. But if you want to race like a sub 4-minute miler, you got to train like a sub 4-minute miler. And this is why we do these certain workouts. And then if you can have that Teflon skin and you can keep that fire alive, great things are going to happen one way or another. Anyways, sorry I talked too much.
No, that's great. And some of the best teams that you've had have come along over these 30-something years. And people should come in if they're living in Cedar City and walk through the event center here and see all those championships and plaques that you won with your players, with your runners, with your throwers. Yeah. And I've had a lot of students in my classes that have been track athletes, and they're some of the best. And the gymnastics team too. And you have high grade point averages. Yeah. So it's not just the athletics part, it's the school part. Right. So it actually takes us back to what college was all about probably years ago, was student athletes being student athletes. But that's alive here and well, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And one thing that I thought was really, that I didn't mention, I failed to mention, that is crazy cool for this university is when I recruit athletes and we bring them on campus, we take them to those trophies and let them see, because I tell the athletes, I'm not here to sell Utah to you, I'm here to sell Southern Utah. And I want to tell you our history and what these athletes have done that have chosen to be committed to us, to let them know that we're committed to them. And so we walk in there and I say, we're the only mid-major in the country, the only school in the state of Utah, and one of the only schools in the country, D1s, that have a Bowerman. And if you want to know what Bowerman is, Google it. And it's like the Heisman Trophy. It goes out of 50,000 athletes in the men's and the women, only one gets it. And Cam Levin's got it. That's right. It's in that trophy case. Now Google Bowerman. They name it Bowerman because he was the coach at Oregon. And he would bring his athletes in back early 70s, and he'd put them in. He'd take them in his garage, and he'd line their feet, cut out a form in their foot, and then get a waffle iron and pour the rubber into it, and then cut out the shoe, and then sew it to their feet. Born is Nike, and so
Yeah, that's a great story.
and so they named the Bowerman after
That's right.
Bowerman, and he created it. And now we have a Southern Utah person that it speaks to dreams. It speaks to no matter what sports you're in. It speaks to this place can create things for you. It's a foundation for you to become a better person, a better athlete, a better student, and prepare yourself for the next arena to make a difference. And so college athletics, when I was in school and when you were in school, we were moving forward, and there were struggles. I hear stories of constant long bus trips. I remember.
Oh, yeah.
I remember. Some of my coaches, I don't know. They had the ability to hold it, not have to go to the bathroom for hours, and how we did that, it was crazy. But it was up and back constantly, and it was always to Colorado, and now where we're at, and we have the opportunity, we have been pretty much from London to Canada to Africa with some of our athletes. Our athletes have represented in many countries, and I've been in almost every state. And this is because of the foundation that was set by the people before us. And it's not because of something magical I brought in. It's because people did the work ahead of time. All the athletic directors, all the administrators, all the presidents, all the professors, they made us in this arena, gave us the opportunity to take the talents that we've been given and be able to bring people together and make these things happen. And so, from when it started, when I remember, to where it's now, it's night and day different. And can we even be better in the future? Absolutely, absolutely. We have to have the right people with the right frame of mind, in right positions, with big dreams and the desire to work hard. And if they're willing to do that, good things are going to happen, continue to happen.
Well, and you've done that over some 30, 40 odd years.
Thank you.
Congratulations to you. And on your retirement, we'll wrap this up now, but what are you going to do now? Travel?
Yep. Well, we are. I'm traveling. Like I was saying, I was sitting at that coffee shop with my wife. But if you haven't ever saw the movie The Way, that's a good movie to watch. It's St. James when Jesus died and said, "Go and preach the gospel." He takes the path from France all the way into Spain. It's a 500-mile walk, and he converted only 9 people, but from there, it's the highest level of Catholics or Christians, young Christians in the world, and so they say 1 million people do it a year, take that walk a year. And so
That's
when
amazing,
he got
isn't it?
back,
Yeah.
when he was called St. James the Great, and you have St. James the Lesser. St. James the Lesser became the first bishop in Jerusalem. St. James the Great came back to Jerusalem and was the first martyr. And so a lot of people follow that path, and it goes to Santiago, the Church of Santiago, and in the foundation are St. James' bones. So when he was beheaded, they took his bones there where he started a church, and that's where he's buried. And now it's a crazy cathedral. And so you have St. James the Great who took that walk to start preaching the gospel. And then you have St. James the Lesser who was a philosopher and really religious. And so they say one is the physical walk, the other one is the mental growth, and that you go through life. And so that's going to be our first trip. And so
Great.
we're gonna do that, and we want to. It'd be great to rent a flat in these countries and spend a month there, and going to Rome would be great. And those are some things. I don't know if we'll ever be able to do that, but those are the things that all of us get to experience when we work hard and we plan correctly. And we know that life is short. And so it may happen, it may not happen, but no matter what happens, it's been a glorious experience that I've been able to, but it's been afforded to me by the people around me.
Well, it's been a great time talking to you, and on A Time with Art on our podcast, and it's on YouTube and was on KSUU Live today. But thanks, Eric, and we're going to miss you as not being here, and hopefully whoever takes over will continue this upward thing. So.
I think if they realize and appreciate the support around them and build and understand that not every day is perfect and not every season's perfect, but keep the confidence and let things slide off, you'll be just fine.
Okay, great. Well, that'll do it for us today, and we'll sign off.
Thanks.
Thanks, Eric. Good to talk to you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being a friend.
Yeah, thank you.